I'm back, guys. Thank you for all the amazing well wishes that I had in the last few months. I know I haven't done any 101, any live streaming, but I'm back. I'm happy to be back, especially because I have an amazing person here with me. He's a good friend of mine. I met him about 8 years ago, and ever since then we like hit it off. We're cool. He is an incredible human being. He has been doing great things for the city, especially for our school. So I'm happy to introduce today my good friend Frazier Leary.
I'm glad you're back too.
Yes, glad to be back. How's it going?
I'm great.
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 You look good too, man.
Thank you.
I lost some weight, and I noticed you.
I lost some weight too.
Yeah, man,
I
it's
think it
good.
was, when I first started running, I was probably about 200. Now I'm about 180.
Oh, that's good. I need to get to that level. How tall are you?
5'11".
5'11". Okay, I'm 6'1". So my doctor wants me to come down to 200. I'm about 235. I was at 270 though, but it feels so much different though. I feel so lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at the pictures that Ryan takes when I'm delivering books and stuff like that, and my legs are so skinny.
Yeah, that's the first thing that gets into your leg. All right, well, thank you for coming.
Sure.
I know this was last moment. Now, let's talk about you. What's going on? You running for re-election.
I'm running for re-election. I've been elected twice since 2018. I'm the Ward 4 representative on the State Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really interesting. I think we've gotten a lot done. I didn't know anything about the State Board of Education when I ran, to be honest with you. And because I was a teacher and a coach and a father and a husband, and I didn't really deal with the other side of it from teaching and things like that. But we've accomplished a lot, I think, with our limited governance, because the State Board of Education is different than the Board of Education used to be in DC. But I think that I'd like to do it for another 4 years, see what happens.
See what happens. I know a few things that you guys, the State Board of Education, has changed and things like that. What was the something that you feel very proud of, or what was the most challenging you had while being in the board? And I know, I think you were the board vice president, right? The State
I
Board
was the vice president for 1 year.
for 1
The
year.
terms are for 1 year.
Okay, okay.
I thought we accomplished a lot in that 1 year because the reason I ran to be vice president was I wanted to be in the room with the education leaders in the city.
Okay.
So we would meet with the deputy mayor, we would meet with the state superintendent, we met with the chancellor every now and then. We met with the council chairperson every other month.
Okay.
And so I was able to, I hope, represent Ward 4, but also call them out when they weren't doing what they're supposed to do.
I see. I have a daughter going now in public school again. She went to Mary Reed Elementary School, and I love that school. That was a great school.
Great.
And then for middle school, she ended up going to Two Rivers Middle School,
Right.
which we didn't have the best experience there. And I was able to transfer her first to McFarland, and then we got the last minute notice that she got accepted to Hardy Middle School, Hardy Middle School. And now she's going to Hardy Middle School, and she's happy. I'm happy.
That's all that matters.
Yes. Well, yes, it matters that I'm happy, but I also want her to get a good education.
No. What I'm saying is for all parents,
Yeah.
and I have 5 children,
Yes.
all that matters is that you're happy because they're happy.
Yes.
I had to, my 4 of my 5 children I was very satisfied with where they were in school.
Okay.
But my daughter, my youngest daughter, we moved her from where she was. She was at Wilson.
Okay.
And we moved her to Cardozo, where I taught, because I wasn't happy with what was going on at Wilson.
I see.
And so that's what I'm saying.
What now they changed the name. What is it?
Jackson Reed.
Jackson Reed. Yeah. Yeah, I went to Wilson and I wasn't happy either. I feel that it was not supportive of minority students.
That's why. Well, my daughter is a minority student,
Yes.
and she also has she has an IEP.
Okay.
Because she's ADD,
Mm,
and I didn't think they serviced her correctly.
I see.
So
I see.
wanted her to come. She was in my class 1 year, and but she did very well, and that's all that mattered.
Well, you bring a great point. You have 5 children. They went to different school. I have 4. 2 of my kids went to an Arlington public school. Excellent.
2 of mine did too.
Yeah, so they're very different. It's day and night compared to DC public schools. I still love DC, but we're here to call things out, like you said. I went to school in the 90s. And as I travel to the city, as I see how things are going on and stuff like that, talk to other parents and things like that, I feel not much has changed. And it's been 30 years pretty much since I went to school. So what do you think is happening in the public school system in DC? Why does it, like for me, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can enlighten me, but I feel that the education system has not evolved to where it should be in terms of how they educate people and also certain groups and certain kids and all that.
When I started teaching in 1971 at Garner Patterson Junior High,
Okay.
and I moved up the hill to Cardozo in 1977. And I was at Cardozo till I retired in 2017. So I was there for 40 years.
That's a long time.
It was great. I loved every minute of it. But the biggest change that's happened in education in the city has to do with charter schools and public schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the charter schools, because half of the students in DC go to charter schools, and half of the students go to public schools. And to me, they don't work together.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they work against each other. When I came on the board, because the board, it doesn't have anything to do with what happens in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
It used to, like the board used to appoint the superintendent of schools. Back in those days, we had a superintendent who was in charge of all DCPS because all the schools were public schools.
Yes.
And then as it's evolved into having almost 50-50 now, we have a state board of education, we have a deputy mayor of education who's appointed by the mayor, we have a chancellor who's appointed by the mayor, and we have the state superintendent who's appointed by the mayor. Then we have a public charter school board, and because the LEAs, the local education agencies, DCPS is an LEA. It's got, let's say, 85,000 students. And then you have some bigger LEAs like KIP or Friendship that have more than one campus, but they're an LEA. And then you have a small school like Roots, which is right down there on North Capitol Street, which is a little kindergarten and small elementary school, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also an LEA.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own board they have their own board, and they raise their own money.
Okay.
Plus they get public money.
Okay.
So there's all those things are not built to make sure that the school system is working smoothly.
I see. So
That's how I
basically,
feel.
so basically, instead of working together, everybody's doing their own little thing, and not everybody's really progressing the educational system of
I
the
don't,
city.
I don't
Or
think that, when they talk about you have too many cooks,
uh-huh,
spoil the meal.
yeah,
There needs to be more centralized movement towards the real problems that we have in our schools.
mm-hmm,
Our reading scores are way down.
mm-hmm,
The math scores are down. I looked at today, a report came out where there are about 20% of the teachers every year in both the charter and the public schools don't come back or leave those schools. So we lose teachers. And that's always a problem. Because if you don't have that consistency, that's one thing that's really different now than it was when I first started teaching, or even when I was just into 20 years of teaching. We had veteran teachers who would mentor new teachers. That's what helped me. If I hadn't
yeah,
had veteran teachers help me, I'd have never probably made it.
I see.
But we don't have that kind of consistency of veterans helping
But
mentorship problem.
to me, what I feel, Arlington has an amazing public school system. It's not perfect, but it is much better. And both of my kids, my two sons, graduated from an Arlington public school. When both of them turned about 13, the school invited us, the parents, even though my ex-wife and I are separated, invited us to a 10-week workshop. We would go once a week and be at this workshop in the school for about 2 hours. They'll take my son to another room. The parents will stay in another one room, and then an hour later they bring us together, and then we will eat together and talk about, basically they were teaching us about the brain development of a teenager, how it's changing, how's it going through their changes. Your son is a teenager now. Your son is going to start liking the opposite sex or the same sex. They were giving us all these things. You're going to one day look at your son, your teenage son, and you're going to be like, where's my little boy? Because you're not going to recognize the 9-year-old, the 10-year-old. Now you're looking at a 14-year-old, and you're going to be like, who is this kid? And they took us to this training, and it was an incredible training because it kind of prepared us to all the phases that my son went, and he went through some phases. At that time, I remember Eminem was popular. One day, my son has black hair like me, and one day he came out all blonde and all that and short hair. And I call him, what happened? The Eminem came to see you or something? But he went through a few changes, he experimented with drugs too and did some things. But we were prepared for it. We were educated, to understand those changes.
That's great. And that's one of the biggest problems we have right now is that I don't think test scores reflect a student at all, to be honest with you. I was very much against the park test and against judging a school by their test scores. Because I know that when I was at Cardozo, which was looked at as a lower ranking high school, that's not what we graduated. We graduated, they became very successful despite of, it was just a matter of overcoming challenges. And when COVID has changed education
Yes.
a lot for students who weren't in school for 2 years, they're still I still teach at UDC. And one of the first things that I had students write about was how much different is it to be a college student as a high school student. And a lot of them talked about when they were online for 2 years, and they're still recovering from that. I mean, most of our children can teach us everything about, well, not you because you work with all these machines and everything. But me, if something's wrong with my computer, I just call my son or my daughter. My two youngest children still live with me. I just call them and they fix it in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they understand the technology and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also becoming a human being, like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's a great program. And schools need to spend more time growing our children up
Mm-hmm.
than teaching them things that they may or may not ever use again. I mean, reading and writing and arithmetic are very important.
Yes. Yes.
But I mean, I know you. I was a bad student when I was in high school.
I was a bad student too.
Okay, and I really was. I barely graduated high school
Incredible.
because
And
I
look at you
didn't
now.
because I wasn't interested in what we were doing. I was popular. I enjoyed. I couldn't wait to get to school every day, but I didn't go there. I probably learned some things just by osmosis. And then I went to college to play baseball because all I ever wanted to be was a baseball player, and I was good. So I went to college. We won the NCAA championship my freshman year, and I flunked out of college in the next year
Oh wow.
because I didn't go to class,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't interested in being a student.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was in the Army, and I was in the Army 4.5 years. Came back and went to college, and I was serious about being a student then because I was 23.
I see.
But the thing about it is we need to have our children learn how to be where they're going to be after they graduate from high school. I was told my students, you're going to graduate, but where are you going to be the day after graduation? So we tried as high school teachers, I think, to prepare our students for the world beyond high school.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't spend enough time in our system in teaching life skills.
Mm-hmm.
We just passed a financial literacy standard
Okay.
for our high school students to take a class in financial literacy.
That's
Right.
excellent.
Okay? We just passed that
Oh wow.
this year.
Okay.
There wasn't ever a thing for that. All right?
Uh-huh.
We just passed new social studies standards.
Okay.
All right? Which wouldn't even be used in some states like Florida or Texas. They would not even have anything because our social studies standards are so forward looking and they tell about the world now
Okay.
rather than Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson,
I see.
and they look at what happened in the United States really happened in the United States
Mm-hmm.
rather than the lies that we learned, that I know I learned in high school and everything. So we've done a lot of things that I think we as a board are very proud of, and trying to bring our students into the 21st century.
Yes. And I think that's what's important. Both of my son, for some reason, they were always walking around with a book.
That's the best thing in the world.
They're constantly reading. They lived in New York City. They ride the train all the time, but they have a book all the time. They're constantly reading, and that's something that Arlington Public School, and I'm trying to understand that because I see it at the private schools in the district. I see there's a big difference on the education between the private school and the public school. I know that. So what you're just telling me, the financial standard literacy program, that's an incredible program.
Yeah.
I'm stopped because it is necessary.
Because like writing a check
Mm-hmm.
or what interest is on a credit card, because our students leave Cardozo, let's say, and they go to college,
Mm-hmm.
and they go to the first day of college. There's a whole row of tables out there,
Mm-hmm.
and there are all these credit card companies saying, "Here, you can have this credit card with $500. It's free $500." And they don't tell them there's a 24% interest rate.
On it, yeah.
So that when you're paying off your credit card, it's going to take you years and years and years to pay off a credit card because it looks like free money. It's like the person said, "You don't have any money in the bank." You said, how could I not have any money in the bank? I still got checks. You know, that's an old joke.
It is.
But the thing about it is we want our students, like all my students did was read and write. I'm an English teacher. That's all they did all the time was read and write and talk about what they read and write about what they read. And that's all my students are doing at UVC right now too. It's just reading and writing. Because I always have a book with me.
Yeah.
I'm reading all the time.
And I think that's important, you know. I came here when I was 13 years old, and I went to school probably for 2 good years, 14, 15. After 16, I dropped out. But I feel that the only reason I have been successful is because the education I got back home in my country. You know, I can read, I can write, I know math, I know some basic science. You know,
Yeah.
they even in the school in my country they taught me a little bit of carpentry, a little bit of how to build a home, how to build a garden, and things like that. They have those courses over there too.
We had those in DC before the mayor took over control of education.
Oh wow, yeah.
We had when I was at Garner Patterson, we had a wood shop, we had a print shop, we had a what was the other one? I forgot what the other shop was. There were 3 shops in the school. When I came to Cardozo, we had an auto shop, electric shop, carpentry shop, all those different trades that students could learn.
Yeah, I learned electricity too. I remember they taught me electricity, negative,
Yeah.
positive.
Now we have a Phelps, which is the PACE, is got different trades in that school, specific trades. That's what that school is for. But we've lost a lot of our ability to train, like sewing lessons, home ec classes. You remember all those?
Yeah.
We don't have those anymore.
Yeah, I remember we have in my country. The girls could go to cooking classes. I could go to cooking class if I wanted to, or I could go to plumbing classes or electrical classes and all that and stuff like that. We have those things, and all those things helped me when I came to the U.S. And I mean, I was 13 when I came, so I had received all this knowledge probably between 8 to 12 years, 8 years old to 12 years old, and I knew that. Like, I went to work in construction with my uncle. My uncle is like, "Can you set up a light? Can you put on a light?" Yes, I could do that. You know,
and those things are very important.
Yeah, and it's very basic, but
that's all right. But it's not in the curriculum.
It's not. Yeah, like they don't teach
We're
that.
working now on the curriculum, on what the guidelines will be for students, graduation requirements. And some people are pushing for those kinds of things as electives, just like financial literacy is an elective, right? But there are, with the way the world is now, you need a plumber, you need a carpenter, you need all of those trades.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're much better with your hands. I'm a really good athlete with my hands, but that's about all I can do. But it's amazing to me how, and those people make good money.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, those are very valuable trades. We had at Cardozo, we had a construction academy, HVAC, carpentry, plumbing, electrical. All of those were taught at Cardozo. And the graduates of the construction academy were had jobs right out of high school by the big Turner Construction and those different construction companies. But then they got rid of that.
Yeah, like that's what doesn't make sense to me. Now, tell me about the accomplishment. What have things that I know a lot of things have changed because of the pandemic and all that. They have, how you see now, are kids going to school? Are kids skipping school? I mean, I know. I know in the 90s it was very common to be a skipping school, but I don't see a lot of kids now outside the school during the school hours. So,
Well, we have a horrible attendance. The school, it's really critical
oh wow,
for attendance.
is that for all schools, charter school and public school, or yes?
Yep. Truancy and attendance is something that we're going to be working on, and we've been working on.
And,
But
and
see, it has to come from the leadership of the city.
mhm,
The mayor has to make education the most important thing
mhm.
because everything else feeds off of that, right? Because we've got a horrible teenage violence problem, and a lot of the things that are happening are students aren't at school. I never understood how it's the end of September, right? There are already students who have missed 10 days of school.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to be done about that. You can't wait for things to happen. All right, and that's a real problem with education.
And what do you think it is? I mean, we can blame the mayor today, or because she's making decisions and all that, but she's also making decisions based on the voters. Do you feel that parents are not involved, they're not advocating, or is because my daughter goes now to Hardy Middle School. I went to the back to school night and all that,
And it was packed.
and it was packed, and there were all the parents there, and the PTA organization of the school. They were in every corner greeting us and all that. Every class, they're like, please donate to the PTA. This is what we want. This is what we need. If every parent donate $300, we're gonna have everything we need for the school
There's
year.
no question. But that's west of the park too.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And so one of the problems that we had at Cardozo was parental involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Cardozo, when I first came to Cardozo, was 99% African American.
Mm-hmm.
1,800 students.
Okay.
Right. Cardozo now is about 700 to 800 students, and half of African American, half Latino.
Okay.
Right. And because the neighborhood has changed so much, it's gentrified big time, and now a lot of schools aren't community schools.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When you went to school, of course you were at Wilson, but probably most of the students were from that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there were students that came from other parts of the city, but now a student doesn't have to go to their neighborhood school for high school. If a high school has a program, all right, like Cardozo has a program called Trans-STEM now. Used to be Trans-Tech Academy, which was a really valuable program, and went out and recruited students from all over the city to come to Cardozo, all right, for that program. So each school has a different program. Like Roosevelt has an international program where they have students from other countries come and switch up with other students.
Oh wow.
Or Coolidge has a pre-college program.
Mm-hmm.
So when you graduate from Coolidge through that pre-college program, you already have college
credit.
credits.
Okay.
All right. So those things are in schools all over the city, but it also dilutes the togetherness of going to the school that your mother went to
Mm-hmm.
or your grandmother went to. I met a woman the other day up at the Fort Stevens,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to her, and I told her I taught at Cardozo. And she said, I graduated Cardozo. She was 93 years old.
Oh wow.
Right? She was 93 years old and proud to be a Cardozo graduate.
Oh wow.
Right? So it was really neat. So that because I taught grandchildren of my students.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I retired, I was teaching grandchildren of my students.
Oh wow.
But the neighborhood's different now
Mm-hmm.
because there was a lot of movement, like Clifton Terrace.
Yeah,
Remember Clifton Terrace?
I lived in Clifton
Yeah,
Terrace.
okay, so
It
why
was
didn't you
bad.
go to Cardozo, man? You
Uh,
have been one of my students.
my mom got a friend to get got her address so I could go to Wilson. She was scared. She didn't want me to go to Cardozo. My building was already bad, she said. And then she's like, I don't know, Cardozo.
No, well, Cardozo, I was there for a long time before they. It's beautiful now, but that was in 2013 when it became beautiful.
Okay.
We didn't even have air conditioning in Cardozo in the 80s.
Yeah, I was in the 90s. I went to high school from 90 to 92, I think. I dropped out after 92. All right, well, so how do you inspire people? Because I think you're saying good points and all that, but for us to make a change in our educational system, which I'm very disappointed that things have not changed so much from the 90s. What do we need to do as voters? What do we need to do as citizens? And especially if we have a parent in the public school system or even in the charter school system, what do we need to do? What do you advise a parent right now?
Okay. When I ran, it was because I was a parent, an educator, and an advocate.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm still running on that. That's what I am. Right. Parents have to advocate for their children. If they're not getting what they want from the schools, then they need to either get in touch with me or the members of the State Board of Education or their other elected leaders and hold them accountable. The problem right now is that we as a city are not holding the leaders accountable for what's wrong with our schools. I deeply believe that. I mean, when I see the mayor and the mayor and I have a good relationship as far as personal relationship. She says, "Why are you always so negative about things?" And my answer to her is because they're not working. You can fix it. Because I believe that if the mayor's in charge of education, then those educational leaders need to be held accountable. But the parents and the citizens need to hold people accountable. I mean, I get people call me. I had somebody call me a couple of weeks ago about, what are you going to do about the students at Dunbar that don't have a dress code? And I told her, I'm in Ward 4A, and I have nothing to do with the dress code at Dunbar. That's the principal's job. All right, but I got that call. All right, and I answered it. But we need to let people, the leaders, know that we want things changed. We want parents, as we talked about at the beginning, before I think we went live, right? We want the parents to be satisfied with their children's education every day. We want them to be in a safe and secure and comfortable building, which we don't always have. And we want them to get a quality education. And teachers are allowed to teach. When in the end of my career, there were a lot of teachers leaving because they spent so much time teaching test-taking skills rather than teaching students how to read and write. And that was from the system. And I've been fighting that forever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny because that's one of the things that I always talk about, that this new generation, and maybe it's just me. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like they're missing some common sense.
Oh no. Children need to be taught, and if they're not learning it from their parents, then they've got the second line, and that's us.
Yeah.
The teachers, the people who work in the building. I mean, I never was just a teacher. I was a coach. I was I was hard. I'm sure my students didn't love what I was teaching them or anything, but there's a life outside of the classroom that our students need to know about.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know how to be mannerly. They need to know how to treat elders. They need to know how to treat people who are in authority. And we have that problem in schools where the lack of respect is a big problem.
Okay.
Now, we have people in this country who don't respect this country, who are leaders or
Mm-hmm.
quote leaders.
I
They're
mean,
bad role models.
maybe you should run for mayor next
No,
time.
no,
No, but that's the person that can change the school system.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Um, where do you see the future going? I mean, we have children coming out from this pandemic with mental health challenges.
Well,
I think that has been a big topic within the DC public school system. You talked about truancy, that we have the lowest, stuff like.
we've gotta accept the fact that we have problems.
Okay.
That to me is the biggest problem. Is not admitting that we have a problem.
Okay.
You can't solve a problem if you don't admit that it's a problem.
Okay.
That's the biggest. That to me would change everything. Recognizing the problem, understanding how to get the solution, and solving it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hard work, Ricardo. It can be done,
Yeah.
but it has to be recognized, and they have to be accountable for it.
Hmm.
I mean, we could have the greatest educational system in this country.
Mm-hmm.
We have it. It's right there for us.
I mean, to me, it's embarrassing being the capital of the United States, and you see how much division we have in our educational system. You actually see, you compare the schools in the black neighborhoods compared to the white or affluent neighborhoods and all that, and I'm like, this is
It's like two different worlds.
It's two different worlds, and we're 2024. Like come on, like can we leave that on the last century and work into doing our school better? And
It's not just us.
yes.
When I went to a meeting or a conference about this time last year,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about how a lot of school systems in the United States are still based on 1890 school systems.
Mm.
All right? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not looking at the whole child. They're not looking at the fact that we are in 2024 where each student has a computer in their pocket on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's something that I'm working on right now with the board about not letting students have their phones in the classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think the students should have their phones in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah, that's what I like about Hardy. They take their phones at the beginning of the school, they hold them in a separate locker, and then they get it at the end of the night.
Whittier
At the-
Elementary, right down the street.
Yeah, mine was down the street.
Whittier Elementary
Well,
collects the students, drop their phones off in a bin.
okay.
They don't even have a locker or anything. They put them in a bin at the beginning of school, and at the end of school, the kids pick their phones out of the bin and go home.
Oh wow.
No problems, nothing. So
Exactly.
it can be done.
Yeah.
It's just that there needs to be a program where schools have their own autonomy on how they set up the program, but understand how that phone is a distraction to a student in the classroom.
Yeah. It is. It is. I mean, it's the new addiction. You know,
Big time.
it's a new addiction. It's an addiction. There's studies already showing how it's really
man.
affecting the development.
States are starting to get into it now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine, but we need to do it in DC,
Mm-hmm.
because we're dealing with a population that doesn't need distractions.
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you've been talking about is the distractions.
Yeah.
We don't want our children don't need to be distracted by anything.
No,
They need
definitely.
to be in that classroom, working hard and having fun.
Yep.
They can have fun in the classroom.
I mean,
I love going to school every day.
I used to love going to school too. You
No,
know.
I'm talking about when I was a teacher.
Yeah.
I love going to school when I was.
It's funny because you know that's what I was thinking. What you were saying earlier. You said that I love going to school, but I wasn't going to class. But then
That was college. I went to class. I never cut a class in high school.
No,
But I went to school to see my friend, to be with my friend. And I was the class clown.
But I was just thinking about that even though maybe you weren't the best students, my thought was this guy really loves school because he went and worked 40 years at the school. So you just from a student, just one day, you know what? I think I can teach, and
Well, sometimes the light bulb goes on a little bit.
But I mean, you are in it. I think being a teacher, and I gotta give you credit for that. It's a lot of work. You have to have a lot of patience. There's a sense. You have to have a sense of humanity when you're teaching. You have to have some type of charisma and an understanding.
But that's what we have. The system has to have a sense of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If we treat our students as our children,
Mm-hmm.
all right, then it will get that. All right. Unless you're a really bad parent. All right. If the system treats our children that way, then we'll have the best system.
Okay. Well, I mean, I like teaching too. I mean, you guys, what do you guys think? Do I teach well filmmaking or?
Yeah, you know he does.
Pretty good.
I think I like teaching on what I'm passionate about.
Well, that's so do I, but I couldn't teach
filmmaking.
calculus like Jaime Escalante. Do you remember?
Yeah, Jaime Escalante. Yeah.
Remember the movie Stand and Deliver?
Yes.
And the kid comes in the classroom and he looks at the word calculus on the board and says, calculus. And I don't know anything about calculus.
Okay.
But like, I was thinking about it yesterday in class. I teach freshmen at UDC.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to write at the beginning of class every day.
Mm-hmm.
And their warm-up was to write about now they're veteran students because they've been in college for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I was thinking about if my teacher, when I was in high school, had a warm-up exercise where I was able to write every day, because I like writing and I love reading,
Mm-hmm.
I bet I would have been a completely different student.
Oh wow.
So my students never get a chance not to write every day.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what you have in writing about?
What we're reading,
Okay.
or they have a journal they have to keep, so they write a journal entry every class period.
Okay.
But that's at home.
Okay.
But they always have warm up. The warm up yesterday but last week or 2 weeks ago, they were writing about 9/11
Okay.
because we read a poem by Toni Morrison about 9/11.
When I decided to go to college, nobody told me anything about how college worked, right? So I went to college and I got financial aid. So I went in and asked, how much, what can I do with my financial aid? They told me they'll pay out to 15 credits. I said, okay. I went back.
Didn't know what 15 credits were.
No, I checked, and then each class was 3 credits.
Right.
So I could take 5 classes, right?
Right.
So I took all the classes I wanted to take. I took US history. I did take English because I knew it was a requirement. I took child development because I had a son that was like a 1-year-old. So I was like, I wanted to know child development. I took like a business legal class.
That's good.
Because I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, so I need to know. And then I took theater because I like acting too. So that's what,
That was your 5 classes.
That was my 5 classes and all that. Yeah. But I remember on my English class, that was the time that Bill Clinton has had the thing with Monica Lewinsky, and they asked us to write about that.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, and my teacher loved what I wrote.
That's great.
I wrote like a 3-page of my opinion. I'm like, the president is super stressful. He needs some release and stuff. But the teacher just like is like, Ricardo, I love what you wrote. Wasn't what I wasn't expecting. It was more the political view and all that.
That's good.
But it was fun. I was like, I like this type of exercise. Giving me to write about something like that, I got inspired,
I was stationed in Arlington when I was in the Army.
Uh-huh.
I was in Vietnam for a year. Came back and became an officer. And I was at Arlington Hall. Do you remember Arlington Hall in Arlington?
No.
Off of Glebe Road and Route 50.
I think so, yeah. I seen it, yes.
But so I went to when I got out of the Army, I was a captain when I got out, and I went to AU,
Okay.
and I decided to major in English because when I first went because I wanted to be a baseball player, I was a phys ed major, but then I wanted to major in English because I like to read. That was the only reason. Because in Vietnam, I was reading all the time because we had a little teeny library on the base.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had all these books because nobody else went to the libraries. And I walked into this English class. It was British literature. And the professor was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was so excited about teaching Shakespeare and Chaucer, Beowulf, and all this English literature. I took 7 classes from him. He was my inspiration as a teacher. He's why I became a teacher.
Teachers are so inspiring. Like, like I can tell you my first ESOL teacher, Mr. Wing, who was Alice Deal Middle School. He was tough, but I thank him so much because of that I learned English.
Oh, that's great.
Like we couldn't chew gum. We could not speak Spanish in his class. We have to try to say everything in English,
That's good.
and stuff. And he took us camping. Actually, like he actually did a camping trip for all the ESO students and all that, which was amazing. And we have to go there and we have to like find things and then find the name in English. He will make us walk with our dictionary,
Good.
and stuff like that. Like our dictionary was our lives, and stuff like that. Every week we have to like learn 20 English words and then write a sentence with each of those words and all that. And I feel like that year and a half that I spent in Alice Deal is what I speak English now, and stuff. And to me, I'm so thankful for him, And then
Who's the principal?
Mr. Moss, Reggie Moss was the principal. He was scared.
Sterling Broadus was your assistant principal.
I don't remember that. That's it. But I remember Mr. Moss. Mr. Moss used to intimidate me.
The new state superintendent of DC is a graduate of Alice Steele and Wilson.
No way.
Antoinette Mitchell.
Antoinette Mitchell.
You know the name Tony Mitchell? Do you remember?
No,
Tony Mitchell?
no. Probably if I see him.
It's a woman.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I might have to see her because,
she's the new
Kenya McDuffin went to the school with me. I remember him from Wilson. We were in the same school. I don't know what grade he was in, but we were in the same years. I know that, and I remember him. I know a lot of people from when I went to Wilson. I see him on different positions throughout the city.
Mr. Moss is a member of a club with school leaders.
Oh wow!
I'm the only teacher
in the
club.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in there. He's still around.
He's still around?
And yeah.
He's a big guy, man. He's a tall guy. Well, I remember.
You should. I'll give you his number.
Okay. I don't think he'll remember me, but
that's all right.
But I remember him because he used to walk through that hallway, and I used to be scared because he would always be with a serious face, and
Yeah,
stuff.
he was a good, real good.
But he was
He's a legendary.
he was legendary. Yeah, he was. He
And
had.
who was the principal at Wilson?
I don't remember.
It wasn't Durso?
It was a lady.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was her first year being a principal there. I can't remember her name.
Wilma Bonner?
I don't remember. I
Because
left.
Ryan graduated.
I completed, I think, the 10th grade, and then by the 11th grade, I dropped out.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
All right.
All right, well, you're running for re-election.
Yep.
What are the changes you're planning to do in the next 4 years? Or what would you like to do? Because I know it's a challenge.
I'm not going to change a lot.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
And I see what you're doing. You collecting books.
Yep.
You're donating books to different parts in the community.
The community donates the books.
Uh-huh.
And we take them to the schools. I just took 75 books this morning.
Okay.
As a matter of fact.
Okay.
But, so the community donates them. That's named in honor of my wife.
Okay.
My wife passed 7 years ago. And it's Mrs. O'Leary's Books for Friends.
This is a Larry book
She
for
was a Head Start teacher.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I know, I mean, nowadays I'm having a hard time to get my daughter to read books. What kind of secret you have for parents out there? How can they get the kids to? I even offer her money, and there's
a book she'd really like to read.
Okay.
You just got to find out what that book is.
Okay.
And
she likes to read a lot of.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, it doesn't matter what you read.
It doesn't matter what you read.
Okay.
It matters that you're interested in what you're reading.
Yeah.
You become a better reader by reading what you like.
Okay.
It's the words.
Okay.
And the whole key to it for me as an English teacher is if she runs into a word she doesn't know, then she needs to go and find out what that word means.
Mm-hmm.
She can do that on her phone.
Yeah.
All right. But that's the key. I do that still. If I see a word I don't know, I look it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to go past that word.
Okay.
But I'll bring you a bag. I got a book.
Yeah.
I got a book in my.
She like comic books. She read comic books.
I'll bring you some books tomorrow.
Okay. She like comic books.
I've got some books. Some of those graphic novels that are like comic books.
Yeah, she likes that. You know,
then and look, my wife had real high scores on the SAT and vocabulary and in the verbal part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she learned all of her vocabulary from Batman and Superman comics.
Okay.
Big words. You go back and look at the old Batman and Superman comics. The vocabulary is very sophisticated.
Yeah.
Very
even in the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll bring you something tomorrow.
All right. So your audience is probably mostly Latinos right now. A few community leaders and all that. Why would you tell them to vote for you?
I'd like you to vote for me because I represent you and your children. And I will do everything I can do to make their education fabulous.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
I want my kids to be fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will do everything I can to make sure that the leaders do that.
Yes. All right, well, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
It's always fun talking to you.
Yep, that was great.
We could talk all day, but you know, we have a show that is only an hour. All right, well, thank you guys. If you're watching this, go out and vote November 5th.
Yep.
Vote. The other thing is share the videos, talk to other parents, get involved with your school. I think that's very important. I advocated for my daughter. Thanks God, now she's in a different school from where she was. And I see the difference. You know, she's happy, she's learning, she's interacting with more kids. and being that she goes to school across town, I'm happy because now she's taking the bus, she's taking the metro, so she's learning new things now. She's learning how to navigate the city
Yeah.
and stuff like that. She's following the school soccer team to different middle school throughout the city too. So one day she's in Columbia Heights, another time she went to Cardoso. I think they had a game there. So she's traveling throughout the city too, taking the bus, using her Google Map and learning. So I like those things because I think she's 13. I worry because she's still young, but I'm like, it's okay. I used to be out on the street at 13 too. So, but I'm happy because I feel like she's learning how to navigate.
That's great.
She's making friends and all that. So, advocate for your children, fight in the school, go and demand better educational system. I personally am not so happy with the lunch, so I'm trying to get my daughter to take lunch at school. What do you think of the school lunches? Have you had a school lunch
Lately,
lately?
no.
No.
I'm a vegan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not an option.
So that means no pizza. That means no hamburgers, no hot
Yes.
dogs, no chicken.
Yes.
So I'm not a good judge of it. I know that when I go to schools when they're eating lunch, the kids are eating lunch.
Yeah.
I haven't heard too much. And one thing though, if you have a problem, please get in touch with me if you live in Ward 4. And
how do they get in touch with you?
you can call me at 202-236-2184, or you can email me. It's very easy, oman9@aol.com. OMAN, the number 9 at AOL.com.
You still use AOL?
Yeah. I was in a class with teachers, and I was telling my email address, and I said it was oman9@oldpeoples. and they wrote down oldpeoples.com. I had to correct it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he does answer the call, so he's giving you the number. Write it down. Call him. He'll answer the call. If he doesn't answer, he will call you back. He is connected through all the school systems, so he will refer you or he'll make a call for you and then tell you, go speak to X, Y, and Z at the school system. I spoke to them. They'll take care of you. And he's good at that. I think personally, Frazier Leary is an incredible person, incredible human being. He cares for our children. He cares for education. So vote for him. Reach him out. Talk to him in person. Share this video with other parents and all that. We need more people like him in the school system. So maybe he doesn't run for mayor, but maybe he can be superintendent next time or something. If we get elected, we get another mayor. We got to have him, think about this other position. You have a lot of more time to go, right? Hopefully.
I guess. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
It's up to God.
But I see you very healthy. You eating your veggies now.
You never know where the truck will hit you.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night.